This video is about the power of ignoring people and why it works far more effectively than confrontation, explanation, or dominance. If you've ever noticed that the moment you stop reacting, stop explaining, or stop chasing, people suddenly become uneasy, more attentive, even obsessed. There's a reason for that. And if you've struggled with being pulled into pointless conversations, emotional drains, or power games you never agreed to play, this is the mechanism you've been missing. Ignoring isn't weakness, it's leverage. In this video, I'll break down how silence, delayed attention, and emotional absence quietly shift control, unsettle others, and elevate your position without you lifting a finger. Stay until the end, because the final insight explains why the most dangerous people are often the least responsive. Strategic indifference means choosing, intentionally, to withdraw your emotional and mental energy from someone or a situation, not as a reaction but as a position. It's the decision to appear unmoved, unaffected, and unconcerned. And this is very different from ignoring someone out of anger or fear. When you avoid someone because they intimidate you, they hold power over you. When you use silence out of frustration, your emotional investment is visible. You're still responding. Strategic indifference is something else entirely. It communicates emotional independence. Your state doesn't shift based on their words, their actions, or their presence. That absence of reaction is destabilizing. Because people are wired to seek feedback, recognition, and validation from others. We rely on other people's reactions to understand our place in the world. Their responses act like a mirror, confirming our relevance, our status, our impact. When that mirror disappears, discomfort sets in. No reaction, no acknowledgement, no signal at all. The person on the other side is left in a kind of vacuum, and inside that silence they begin to spiral, they escalate, they test boundaries, they provoke, anything to force a response. What they're really seeking is reassurance. Proof that they still matter, that they still have influence over your attention. That desperation is where leverage forms. It's the foundation of control. If you've ever felt someone grow restless when you stopped reacting, you've already seen this work, and most people never realize why it happens. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He advised rulers to maintain a measured distance, even from allies, not out of arrogance, but strategy. By staying slightly detached and unpredictable, the prince kept everyone uncertain. And uncertainty, when controlled, keeps power firmly in your hands. His approval was never guaranteed. It had to be earned. And when displeasure appeared, it wasn't loud or emotional. It came through distance, a quiet removal of attention. That restraint made his presence valuable. People competed for it. They feared losing it. They adjusted their behavior, hoping to return to his awareness. This is where the distinction matters. Avoidance is defensive, it's retreat. Strategic indifference is the opposite. It's an assertion, a controlled message that the other person isn't important enough to provoke a response. Their efforts to draw your attention fail, and the silence remains. That is real power. To stay at the calm center while others circle, spending energy, emotion, and focus. Understanding this difference is the first step. Not ignoring as a reaction, but ignoring as a deliberate instrument of ruthless psychological control. Once you see this distinction clearly, you'll start noticing who's reacting and who's controlling the pace in every room. In the structure of social power, attention is the most valuable resource. It's limited, and it's the material from which status and influence are built. Where your attention goes, meaning follows. It defines what matters and what doesn't. Those with power place their attention carefully. They invest it with intent. Most people do the opposite. They hand it out without thought. When you control your attention, you control the story being told around you, and in the end, that control becomes power itself. From this point on, notice who spends attention and who quietly collects it. Every person seeks validation, whether they admit it or not. In the modern world, attention has become the currency that replaces it. A glance, a response, a single acknowledgement. These are small exchanges, but they carry weight. Those who control validation control the dynamic. They decide who feels seen and who doesn't. If you want leverage, treat attention like a scarce resource. Give it carefully, with intention. When attention is granted sparingly, it gains value. And when it gains value, people begin to circle, adjusting themselves, waiting, hoping for your approval. Scarcity follows a simple rule. What's limited becomes valuable. This applies to gold, to art, and to attention. When your attention is always available, it loses weight. When it's rare, it gains power. Let calls go unanswered. Delay responses without explanation. People begin to ask themselves what could matter more than them. That question does the work for you. It creates imbalance, it creates focus. By making your attention scarce, you decide what holds value. And when you control value, you control the game. Because attention is the currency, everything else follows. Ignoring someone isn't simply silence, it creates absence. And absence is felt as a void. Humans are wired for connection. In earlier times, being unseen by the group meant danger. Indifference taps directly into that instinct. The fear of invisibility, of no longer registering. It functions like quiet exclusion. No confrontation, no explanation, just a sudden loss of validation. That absence works slowly. It erodes confidence. It unsettles identity. And once that sense of worth begins to fracture, everything that follows becomes easier to control. If this feels unsettling, that's because this dynamic usually operates below awareness. And the next section explains why silence affects people more than open confrontation. Your silence turns into a problem they can't solve, an unanswered question that keeps looping in their mind. They think about what you meant, why you didn't respond, what changed. That absence begins to occupy them. Their attention drifts back to you again and again. The more they fixate, the more leverage you gain. Without speaking, you redirect their focus. Without effort, you absorb their energy. They believe they're searching for clarity, but what they're really caught in is attachment. Their obsession becomes the restraint, and your indifference is what tightens it. As the tension builds, anxiety wears them down. They move between brief hope and quiet disappointment over and over. The mind looks for relief, and instinctively, it reaches for the fastest exit. Compliance. They begin adjusting themselves, changing tone, offering what they believe you want, anything to make the pressure stop. This isn't respect, it's erosion, a slow form of conditioning applied without words, one that dulls resistance weakens intent and replaces choice with reaction. By the time they notice what's changed, their will has already begun to dissolve. Strategic ignoring slowly dismantles a person's sense of self. Who we believe we are is shaped by feedback, attention, recognition, simple acknowledgement. When that feedback is removed, something destabilizes. It's not just silence. It's a denial of relevance. Doubt begins to surface, quiet at first, then persistent. Confidence weakens. Certainty erodes. Over time, they start anchoring their sense of worth to you. Your attention becomes the reference point. Your approval becomes the measure. What's left is dependence, an identity thinned out by absence. This is power in its most distilled form, not loud, not forceful, but decisive. On the surface, ignoring someone can look identical, but the difference lies underneath, in intent and in emotional state. Avoidance born from weakness comes from fear or insecurity. You're pulling back because they still affect you. That means they hold the power. Strategic indifference comes from the opposite place. Calm, distance, control. Pay attention to your internal state. Are you tense, or are you detached and steady? Power isn't shown by silence alone. It's shown by the absence of reaction. When nothing in you shifts, when their presence no longer registers, that's when the balance changes. Every move you make communicates something. Avoidance rooted in fear leaks anxiety. Your posture tightens. Your silence feels defensive. Your retreat signals vulnerability. The other person senses this. And when they do, they feel stronger. Strategic indifference sends a very different message. You don't withdraw. You remain present, calm, unbothered. Your body stays relaxed. Your gaze remains empty of concern. The signal is clear. In a meeting, the fearful avoidant pulls back. The strategist stays seated, steady, composed, offering nothing more than indifference. One response drains energy and attention. The other preserves it. One makes you look reactive and fragile. The other makes you immovable. And that signal, more than words, decides whether you're being moved or doing the moving. What comes next is the principle that makes all of this sustainable, without turning you cold, isolated, or reactive. Avoidance invites pressure. The more you pull back, the more the other side advances. They sense weakness, and escalation follows. You end up cornered, tense, drained. Power slips away without a fight ever being declared. Strategic indifference works in the opposite direction. It starves conflict instead of feeding it. When there's no reaction, their effort loses purpose. They push, nothing happens. They push again, still nothing. Eventually, they tire, they disengage, and others are watching. The person who remains unaffected is seen differently, higher status, in control. Your indifference becomes a silent instruction, teaching everyone how you are to be treated. Avoidance is retreat without end. Indifference is dominance without noise. One path breeds anxiety. The other builds something unshakable. Silence can be used like a weapon. Most people are uncomfortable with it. The strategist is not. When a question is met with calm silence, pressure shifts instantly. The other person is forced to fill the gap, often with uncertainty, doubt, or nervous explanation. In confrontation, silence breaks their rhythm. The script they prepared no longer works. momentum slips, agitation rises. This isn't rigid silence. It's relaxed silence, easy posture, steady eyes, no visible tension. That stillness reflects their instability back at them. They begin talking too much, revealing more than they planned, sometimes even surrendering ground. You remain still, unmoved, and without saying a word, their position weakens, while yours solidifies. Delay is a form of power. Instant replies signal availability, sometimes even submission. A pause restores control. When you don't respond immediately, anticipation forms. Your words begin to carry more weight. Your time feels valuable. As waiting stretches, investment grows. By the time you answer, your response feels decisive, almost final. This isn't about ignoring completely. It's about calibration. Seconds of silence in a meeting, hours before replying to a message. Over time, people adjust. They learn your rhythm. They respect your boundaries without you stating them. This isn't for emergencies, but in most interactions, delay quietly asserts one thing. You operate on your timeline, not theirs. And it's in that pause that power accumulates without resistance. If this way of thinking feels familiar, you're probably already noticing things others miss. Subscribing just keeps that edge consistent. Absence, when chosen deliberately, becomes strategy. Stepping away at the right moment creates a space people can't ignore. Presence is often taken for granted until it's removed. Only then does its value become clear. You miss a meeting. You stop appearing in the usual places. You become briefly unreachable. That gap does something important. It forces recognition. It makes others measure what changed when you weren't there. And when you return, the balance is different. Your influence has increased, not because of what you did, but because of what was missing. This is scarcity applied to presence, a classic Machiavellian maneuver. You don't argue for importance. You let the absence speak, and the void does the work for you. The most refined form of this power is emotional withdrawal. It isn't silence, and it isn't disappearance. You remain present, but unreachable. Here in body, absent in spirit. No emotional response is offered, no warmth, no irritation, no visible empathy. That absence unsettles people deeply. It disables the usual tools of influence, provocation, guilt, reassurance, pressure. Your inner state no longer depends on anyone else. You don't rise, you don't sink, you remain steady. In that steadiness, you become the anchor, unmoved, unassailable, and for the first time, truly free. The most powerful people in any room are usually the least reactive. While others are pulled by emotion, the truly powerful stay composed, a steady point in the middle of movement. Authority doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from controlling yourself. That calm has gravity. People sense it instinctively, and in moments of chaos, they gravitate toward the one who doesn't shake. In the quiet language of power, reactivity gives you away. The faster you react, the more control you hand over. When others can provoke emotion on demand, you're no longer leading the interaction. You're responding to it, and response is dependency. Calm indifference reverses that dynamic. Criticism lands and passes through without resistance. Nothing sticks, nothing shifts you. By slowing down, by watching instead of reacting, control returns to you. The space you create becomes authority. React less, observe more, and without effort you begin to lead. Building an unmovable center doesn't mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means creating something stable inside you, strong enough that outside pressure can't reach it. Through awareness and deliberate distance, you stop being pulled by every feeling. You notice emotions without obeying them. You choose calm instead of reflex. This is the highest form of control. Not dominance over others, but sovereignty over yourself. A quiet authority that doesn't need permission and can't be taken away. Machiavelli understood that power doesn't come from being loved. It comes from being respected, and at times quietly feared. By keeping distance, the ruler preserves authority. Mystery remains intact. When someone is always available, they become ordinary. When they are selective, their presence carries weight. Familiarity lowers status. Distance turns attention into an event. Power is in part a performance, and the one who holds authority stays slightly above the stage, never fully exposed. The prince's strength isn't in constant action. It's in the awareness that he acts at any moment. For Machiavelli, attention was never casual. A ruler's focus was currency, given deliberately, removed without emotion. Favor was scarce, and because it was rare, people competed aggressively to earn it. Displeasure didn't arrive as anger or punishment. It arrived as indifference. Rivals weren't confronted, they were ignored, rendered irrelevant. That restraint was calculated, and it was effective. By controlling attention, the ruler shaped behavior without commands or force. Authority operated quietly, invisible but absolute, a cold system, efficient. Machiavelli makes one thing clear: engagement should never be automatic. It's an investment, chosen carefully, not a reflex. The wise leader steps in only when something is gained: power, information, or the quiet removal of a threat. By holding back attention, authority grows on its own. Expectation builds, uncertainty works in his favor. So when action finally comes, it's rare, focused, final. Nothing is wasted, nothing is impulsive, and with a single move, the balance shifts permanently in his favor. True power is never loud. It lives in the control of attention and in the deliberate withdrawal that leaves a space others can't ignore. When approval is scarce, it gains gravity. People adjust themselves to earn it. They move toward what feels just out of reach. Those with power don't rush to react. They remain still, centered. And through that stillness, behavior around them begins to shift. Not through force, but through pressure. This is the structure of quiet power. Subtle, disciplined, absolute. You don't rise by demanding attention. You rise by becoming the silence others can't stop responding to. This isn't about dominating people. It's about understanding the forces already shaping behavior and deciding whether you're subject to them or fluent in them. The art of ignoring is a tool. It can be used to build or to dismantle. Understanding how it works is power in itself. It protects you from subtle manipulation. It keeps you from being pulled into dynamics you didn't choose. Start watching how attention moves, who gives it freely, who withholds it, and how silence quietly reshapes the balance. Real mastery isn't external, it's internal, a center so controlled that provocation has nowhere to land. In the end, every power struggle comes down to one thing. The one who decides when to speak and when not to always has the final word. The final word is silence. If this video shifted how you see attention and control, let it be known. A like keeps this perspective moving forward. Leave a comment about what stood out, or something you've already watched unfold in your own life. Share it with someone who understands power, but never discusses it openly. Subscribe if you want more calm, psychological breakdowns like this. And when you're ready, watch the next video. It continues exactly where this ends.